Today's video is brought to you by things that don't exist, like the Valve Steam Deck.
Please hang up and try again.
Hey, what's up everyone? Louis Tran here. In this video, we're gonna take a look at the One NetBook. This device isn't that well known, so basically this is a portable gaming handheld PC. So like a Nintendo Switch, but with a PC built right into it. The more mainstream equivalent would be the upcoming Steam Deck, but there are a handful of other devices that are already out and similar to this one, such as the Neo, the GPD, and even Razer made an attempt like this not too long ago with a gaming tablet PC most people already forgot about. I haven't tried the Neo or the GPD, and my Steam Deck is on pre-order, which will come who knows when, but let me tell you right from the beginning, this is one of my favorite gadgets of the year. In fact, it's one of my favorite gadgets overall in a very long time, despite some of its shortcomings. The version of the OneXPlayer that I'm reviewing has an 11th gen Intel i7 1195 G7 CPU with integrated Xe graphics, an 8.4-inch IPS display with native 2560 by 1600 resolution at 60 Hz, 1 TB SSD, a standard Xbox style layout controller built right in with force feedback, Bluetooth 5 and Wi-Fi 6 wireless connectivity, Windows Hello fingerprint reader, and it weighs about 1.8 or 119 grams. Another thing to note is that the OneXPlayer has a generous amount of ports for something this size. Hell, it even has more ports than some full-size laptops. Ports on this include 2 Thunderbolt 4.0 ports with the ability to connect to a eGPU, one USB 3.0 port, a micro SD reader, a headphone jack, and there's a built-in onboard mic. Oh, there's also a magnetic port on the bottom to connect OneXPlayer's proprietary keyboard with built-in trackpad, which we'll discuss later. So right out of the box, and at first glance, you might feel that this is too ridiculously big for a handheld, especially when compared to the Nintendo Switch, which the standard size comes in at 6.2 inches and the new OLED Switch at 7 inches. The upcoming Steam Deck will also be at 7 inches. As you use the OneXPlayer, you will appreciate that screen size, and honestly, I don't mind it at all. I got used to it almost immediately after playing some games on it. The feel of the unit itself is surprisingly solid. I thought it was going to be half-assed, poorly built unit, but it's made with pretty high quality materials. There's also a metal kickstand which works very well, unlike the piece of crap that you'll find on the original Switch. The built-in controls is a familiar layout that you'll find on the Xbox, and these are also decent quality. The analog sticks and buttons fall in the middle in terms of size between those you'll find on the Switch's Joy-Cons and an Xbox One controller. I personally like them better than the Switch. The trigger pads are large and sensitive and analog as well. And oh, a pro tip, updating the controller's firmware fixes early issues, which I'll provide the link in the description. There are, however, reports of people experiencing controller drift. I've had this for about 2 months and have not experienced any of these issues yet, but if you are purchasing this on a site that has an extended warranty such as Amazon, it might not be a bad idea to add that. Also, there are repair videos on replacing the controllers, so there are user replaceable parts available if you need to fix it. Unlike the Nintendo Switch and Android handhelds, this runs a full version of Windows, and the version I'm running is Windows 11. The native resolution is at 2560 by 1600 and is scaled at default to 250% at the Windows desktop UI. I think it's a bit much, so I scaled it down to 225%, which I feel is the sweet spot for me. So again, this is the full version of Windows, which means it's a fully functional computer that can run desktop applications such as Microsoft Office, Edge, Chrome, emulators such as RetroArch, and you have full access to run and install games from your Steam library. None of the streaming nonsense. And yes, you can connect an external display, keyboard and mouse, which I've done, and it's great running productivity software, which is no surprise with the Intel 11th Gen i7 with 16 gigs of RAM on it. If this thing struggled running Microsoft Office, then I would definitely be concerned. The amount of looks you'll get from people around you at the office running a desktop setup from a Nintendo Switch looking device is pretty funny. Hell, there's even a built-in mic, which you are listening to right now, so you can use this in Zoom or team meetings. Just keep in mind there's no camera, but no one's going to expect that from a device like this. So here's a quick speaker test of the speaker quality, built-in speaker quality of the OneXPlayer. So now that we have work out of the way, let's talk about what the true purpose of this is for. To play games on the go, and this is where it gets interesting. The advantage of the standalone portable handhelds such as the PSP, Switch, and just about any other console is that you install the game and you run it without ever having to worry about anything else. If you want to get into the whole console and PC debate, this is the advantage of consoles over PCs. These days, if you have the right hardware, it's not really that big of a deal, and configuring games for the most part isn't as hard as some people would think. And once you get through that hurdle, the possibilities are limitless. The same applies here. Let's take, for example, a recent game that I've been playing, Tales of Arise. It's a fairly demanding game, and if you just leave it at default settings right after install, at its native resolution, 2560 by 1600, which is about 2K resolution, you'll see it'll choke right from the start with slow and dropped frame rates right after you get through the FMV intro into the game. So what you're gonna have to do is drop the resolution to 1920 by 1200, turn off anti-aliasing and other settings to low, and when you do that, you'll be getting about 60 FPS gaming. The good news is that a screen at this size, even with the details turned down, it looks and it plays great. Now the bad news is the fans come on really hard, and you can hear the fans whine as I'm playing this. Increase the volume to drown out some of the fans blowing, or throw on headphones and you won't hear it at all. Even with the fans on and playing for about an hour already, I don't have any thermal throttling, and it doesn't feel hot anywhere on the casing. The CPU temps are in the low 30s when idle, mid 30s to low 40s when Microsoft Office and other productivity work is running. And when playing games, it will run in a range of 60 to 80 Celsius depending on how demanding it is. Now let's look at Tomb Raider. Like Tales of Arise, you're gonna have to do some tweaking to get this at an acceptable performance. Lower the resolution, lower and turn off some of the graphics settings, and bam, not as pretty as you would be playing on a full desktop PC with an RTX 3080 graphics card, but it's more than acceptable as a handheld game. CyberPunk 2077, also with some modified settings, runs very playable on the OneXPlayer. Other non-demanding games like Blood Rain, The Betrayal, Sonic Mania, and Hades, I can install and just run at their default settings and it's perfect. Same with older games like Ys Memories of Calceta, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and Final Fantasy run without any issues. Look, if you're watching this review, chances are you already have a gaming PC and are researching an alternative to a gaming laptop to take your Steam library on the go. So everything I just said is nothing new. An experienced PC gamer would generally have an idea of what would run well and what to tweak if they needed to. in order to get the game to run how they would want with their current hardware. Otherwise, everything is a Google search away. In fact, OneXPlayer, Reddit, and Discord are great resources, which I'll have a link for you guys. Here are some benchmarks, and keep in mind that these don't tell the full story of OneXPlayer is capable of. 3D Mark is at default, and the games I've adjusted the settings, so your mileage may vary. Now let's get into the even more interesting stuff and check out some emulators. This is sort of a gray area, so take it for what it is. Playing classic games on RetroArch works great. No surprises, as it's not really demanding on the hardware. My favorite games, such as Rondo of Blood on the PSP and Tales of Destiny for the PS2, run just fine. And then there's Yuzu, the Switch emulator. From what I've heard, it's working fine, but keep in mind it's beta software, so you are limited to how far the developers have gotten with this, so it's great for games that work with it. Speaking of the Switch, you can connect this to a larger TV, but I would recommend turning the resolution down to get games performing adequately on this. 4K would usually slow down the games, but when games running at 1080, it works just as well and just as nice as an alternative to the Switch. The gaming experience overall is amazing for what it is. I like it a lot. The controllers are responsive, the built-in speakers are more than adequate, competitive to the Switch, maybe better I would say, and holding it really isn't so bad even though it's thicker and heavier than most handhelds. So things I don't like, the fans. Usually when you're doing productivity work, it stays pretty silent, but every so often they just come on and blow hard. It happens more when you connect it to an external device, an external display. When you run a game on it, no matter how little or how much demanding it is, it's gonna come on pretty loud. I think I've gotten used to it somewhat, but it can get annoying, especially when playing in a quiet room or if you need a quiet environment. As mentioned though, the good news is that it does a good job and it doesn't get hot anywhere on the unit itself. Another thing I would nitpick is the keyboard accessory. Oh God, it's awful. Sure, it's okay if you need to type something out in a pinch, but the trackpad is garbage and the magnet is weak. It's just very flimsy overall. I would invest in a small Bluetooth keyboard and mouse and just skip this. I mean, one positive thing about the keyboard accessory is that it does sort of protect the screen when you have it up like this. Other than that, I like it a lot, and it's great to complement just taking my smartphone, leaving my Switch and laptop at home when I'm on vacation. I have a Razer Blade Advance, I have a gaming desktop PC, but there's just something about this form factor that is so amazing, and I look forward to how this further develops in the future. Now, there's an AMD version that's up for pre-order at the time of this video is being made, and I'll be interested on how well that will do. Hopefully it'll be a lot quieter without the fans blowing on all the time, and I might have a video comparing this with the AMD versions in the future, but I'm pretty happy with this overall. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Like Tales of Arise, you're gonna have to do some tweaking to get this at an acceptable performance.